Chapter 10. Ingo takes one look at Cicely's face as she emerges from the house and knows she has been broken. He'd spent the entire time hoping she would be strong, that Gladys would not be able to hurt her more or break her spirit. She had done both, and those familiar sad eyes that had once broken his heart are back, only worse. Wordlessly, he pulls her close, pressing a comforting kiss to her brow. After a minute, she draws away, leaving his arms empty. He knows she needs his comfort, but she won't allow him to touch her, and he can only imagine what she'd gone through with her aunt. Ingo opens the door. When he gets in, he puts the key in the ignition but doesn't start it. "Talk to me, love," he says softly, taking in her pain-filled expression. "I can't right now." "Cicely, I'm here for you. You know that, right?" "Yes," she whispers. "Please, just drive." Starting the car, Ingo blinks back tears. Swallowing his anger, he pulls away from the curb, silently praying he will be able to reach her somehow. The only words spoken between us are my direction to Mama's apartment. As we pull up in front of the old building, dozens of memories flood my mind. I lived in this building with my mother until I turned 16. Then I left and stayed with friends until I turned 20 and could afford a place of my own. Until today, the pain of those memories had faded, but now it is as fresh as ever. As I move to get out of the car, Ingo places a gentle hand on my arm. "I love you, Cicely." There is so much emotion in his eyes and voice, I want to weep. "No matter what, I love you." "And I love you," I say back, longing to have him hold me, but feeling so unworthy of him. I know I need to get past these feelings and let them go, but right now everything is too fresh, the pain too intense. I just need time to sort some things out. When we enter the apartment, I push everything down inside me and concentrate on what I need to do. Looking around the place a bit, everything is just as it was before I left, only cleaner. The insurance policy is on the kitchen table, just as Gladys said. I sift through the papers, surprised at the amount of coverage my mother had. I wonder how she had been able to afford a policy this size when she had no income, at least not that I knew of. $300,000. No wonder Aunt Gladys was so upset. This would keep her supplied in cigarettes and booze for a long time. Showing the amount to Ingo, he whistles and looks over the papers. I know it isn't a lot of money to him, but he understands why it is to me. Refolding the policy, I take a moment to look around the room a final time, memorizing little details I'd long since forgotten. Then realizing there is no comfort to be gained here, I slip the policy into my purse and we leave. At the hotel, Ingo sits next to Cicely on the sofa while she calls the funeral home and makes an appointment. He admires the way she is able to take care of the arrangements, and if he didn't already know her age, he would never guess she is only 22. All the trials she has faced in her young life have matured her fast. Later, as he sits with Cicely in the funeral director's office, listening to them discuss the arrangements, he can't help watching her, and he allows his gaze to travel over her beautiful features. She seems like a different person since leaving her aunt's house, but he knows the real Cicely is still in there somewhere. He just needs to help her remember how special she is. To him, she is the most amazing person in the world, and their marriage can't happen soon enough. As he continues to watch her, longing flows through him. He aches to be alone with her, to feel her in his arms, her body molded against his, her breath on his face, and her lips pressed against his own. Never before had he ever needed the touch of a woman. Before meeting Cicely, he'd never really given marital intimacy a thought. He had never been close enough to anyone to think that far ahead. But now things are different, and he is anxious to be married and share that intimacy with Cicely. They just need to get past this trial and get on with their plans. After the final arrangements are made, Ingo takes Cicely out to dinner. She says very little, and he doesn't push her to talk. He's determined to be there for her and assures her of his unconditional love. She will open up to him when she is ready. Until then, he will wait. Chapter 11. I absently gaze through the balcony doors and take in downtown Asheville. The city lights are beautiful and blend into the gray, darkening skyline. No matter how hard I try, the clutter of negative feelings will not leave my head or my heart. I have been trying nonstop all afternoon to let them go, but they have only become stronger. The conversation with my aunt did a number on me, and her hateful words have renewed the torment I thought I'd conquered. My newfound self-confidence is gone now, and in its place is the all-too-familiar self-doubt. Maybe the feelings hadn't gone away after all, but had only laid dormant for a short season. Hearing a soft knock on the connecting room door, I turn. Ingo is standing in the doorway, his features expressing as much pain as my own. I hate what this is doing to him, what I am doing to him, but I don't know how to deal with this fear of not being good enough for him. I turn back to the city lights. I sense his nearness before he even touches me. His arms circle my waist and he draws me close, the pounding of his heart against my back causing my own heart to race. Trying to fight the desire growing inside me is useless. Closing my eyes, I tip my head back against his shoulder, shuddering as his warm breath fans the side of my face. I love you, Cicely, he whispers, brushing his lips against my ear. Please say you love me. Turning in his arms, I draw his head down, slowly brushing my lips against his. I do love you. As the passion of our kiss grows, his embrace tightens, and I melt against him. My fingers are buried in his hair as his lips trail over my face, making a path back to my own. Lifting his head, he looks into my eyes, tears brimming his. You are my whole life, love, my whole world, and we cannot be married soon enough. Dropping my eyes, I slowly turn away. I can't think about marriage right now when my yesterdays are still taking over my life. What is it? His voice is pleading. Please talk to me. Tell me what's going on inside you. Keeping my back to him, the wild thumping of my heart takes my breath away and I don't respond. I can't. He tugs at my arm gently. Please, Cicely, talk to me. I can't read your mind, though I really wish I could sometimes. Latching onto a small thread of anger, I whirl on him. No, you don't. If you could, you wouldn't like what you saw there, and you would leave me as quick as you could. First, you can't tell me how I would react because you won't even give me a chance. And second, he takes my arms in his hands. His voice softens, but his grip tightens gently. I would never leave you, Cicely. Never. There is nothing you can say to make me want to leave. There is nothing in this world that could take me away from you except death, and I don't plan on going anytime soon. I love you. Can't you understand that? I am in this for the long haul. Releasing my arms, he takes my hands, pressing them against his chest. You are a part of me. If I ever left you, it would be like leaving a part of myself behind, and I just can't do that. A painful moan escapes me as emotion bubbles to the surface and the tears come hard and fast. Ingo pulls me into his arms, rocking me slowly back and forth, crying with me. After a few moments, I move back. Taking a deep breath, I decide to just get it over with. My confessions will decide my fate with him. I am risking everything, but it is a risk I know I have to take. Here goes nothing. Tentatively, I force the first words from my lips. My father used to tell me I would only be good for one thing in this life. Each and every time he entered my room and had his way with me, afterwards he would say the very same thing. You're only going to be good for one thing in this world, girl. And he was right. I pause. If I'm going to tell him everything, I can't look at him. I don't want to see the pain my words bring etched into his handsome features. Fixing my gaze on a painting hanging on the wall over the sofa, I continue. When I moved out of my mother's apartment, I moved in with people I thought were my friends. They made me feel welcome and were willing to share all they had with me. I release a humorless chuckle. Well, all they had was a fridge full of beer instead of food, cupboards full of liquor instead of food, and last but not least, a medicine cabinet full of every drug known to man. I shake my head at the visual. At least the drugs were where they were supposed to be in the house. Pausing, I glance at Ingo. He is listening quietly, his expression unreadable. It wasn't hard to get hooked, you know. It was like an all-you-can-take and drink buffet. After a year, it became my breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I soon discovered the more I drank, the more I could numb the pain of the past. The more pills I popped, the more marijuana I smoked, the less pain I felt. And even though I'd found a way to medicate myself, it still wasn't enough. It was never enough. Pretty soon I was so far gone, I completely stopped caring about anything. I mean, my father always said I was only good for one thing. I stopped, coming to the worst of it, and I don't know if I can admit it out loud. Placing a finger beneath my chin, he softly says, "Tell me." Taking a deep breath, I release it slowly as another wave of tears trickle down my face. I guess we're at the make or break point, huh? I proved my father right. It turned out I was only good for one thing. Wiping the tears away, I forced myself to look into his eyes. "You're getting used merchandise," as my aunt so bluntly put it. I'm not pure. For that matter, I don't think I ever was. I slept around, Ingo. A lot. I release an inward sigh. There, I've said it. It's all out in the open now. Ingo presses a hand to my cheek, wiping my tears. I know love. His words stun me, and I stare at him, disbelieving. I've known from the first, but I needed to let you tell me yourself. I wanted to hear it from you. And now? I'm afraid to hear the answer, but I need to know where things stand between us. Nothing has changed except my love for you. I didn't think I could love you anymore, but I was wrong. He wiped at his own tears. And by the way, you are very pure, and I don't ever want to hear you refer to yourself as used merchandise again, ever. But how can you say that? How can you still love me knowing what you know now? How could you think I would stop loving you? It's all in the past. It doesn't matter. But it does matter, I cry, frustrated, mainly with myself. Can you tell me why? Closing my eyes, I rub my aching temples. My soul is weary, and I long to explain what I feel inside, but I don't know how. I have lived with the secret of my dirty past for so long. It is hard to just let it go. My choices were terrible and unforgivable, and ever since then, my mind has been conditioned to think it can't be that easy to let go. Ingo sighs. Let me ask you something. Do you want to do those things anymore? Of course not. No. Are you sorry about those choices? Yes. Do you ever want to repeat them? Sniffling, I wipe my face. Never. I have too much respect for myself now. And, he presses, I have you, don't I? Please say I still do. You will always have me, but you have to let the past go, love. Until you do, you can't move forward. You can't move forward. I nod, closing my eyes. He's right, but it is still so hard. Cicely, look at me. As I open my eyes, he gently wipes my fresh tears away. You are an amazing person. You are beautiful, strong, talented, caring, giving, and kind. But until you leave the past behind, you will never see what I and everyone else sees in you. Drawing me close, he whispers against my ear, "Let it go, love. Just let it all go." As if I had only needed his permission, a dam breaks inside me and I press my face against his chest, my shoulders trembling in agony as all the sorrow I've carried for so long rises to the surface and finds release. The pain that has crushed my spirit for all these years brings me to my knees. Ingo sinks to the floor and just holds me, sharing my heartache as well as my sweet release. "You are a wonderful person, Cicely," he continues to whisper, holding me tighter. "You are stronger and more loved than you can possibly know, and I will never let you forget that." Holding to his words, I continue to cling to him, my sobs soon lessening as the peace I have needed for so long enters me. He moves back a little, gazing at me, and I smile. I know my eyes are red and swollen and I must look a sight, but I am happy, truly happy. "I love you, Mrs. Kelly, almost." I laugh. "And I love you, Mr. Kelly, more than I can say." Smiling, he lowers his head. As he kisses me this time, I hold nothing back. For the first time in my life, I feel free, and the kiss we share is glorious. It is filled with love, passion, and healing. The new tears that slip down my cheeks are no longer from pain, but from the pleasure of knowing I can now be completely his, my heart, my mind, and my very being, and I know he will keep them all safe.